friends, welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Stacy and I am the Chapter Conundrum, and in today's video we're going to be doing the behind the scenes book tag. So a tag dedicated to talking about how I do things as a creator, which I think is kind of a fun idea because most of the time I end up talking just about books on my channel, but there's quite a bit that goes into content creation as well, and it can be very individual and very unique for different people. So I think it's going to be interesting to have a little bit of a chat about it. I was tagged to do this by Bookish Chaz, and the original creator of this tag is Robert G, reader of books, so I'll definitely make sure I have both of their videos linked down in the description for you to go check out as well. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the prompts. So question 1 is, when recording a post, do you read from a prepared script, or do you refer to notes or a broad outline, or do you speak extemporaneously? And I don't know if you noticed, but I was actually glancing at my laptop screen to read the prompt question. So that is definitely something I do sometimes, especially for tag videos or like announcement videos with a lot of graphics or like things to refer to. Definitely when Jake and I do like readathon announcements, we always have a laptop with everything pulled up. But for the most part, I never script my videos. I just have a very broad outline or supporting information that I know I need to talk about in my video. Sometimes that ends up being in the form of having a laptop screen over there, and other times I have a notebook that I write things in. I can show you a quick example of what my wrap-up notes look like. So this was for April and May. I have like the book title, some quick overview thoughts, and my rating kind of on the side. So, you know, I have like very basic notes, and oftentimes what comes out is just stream of consciousness from me. There was kind of one example of a video where I did attempt to like script certain parts of it, and that was when I did my all-time favorite sci-fi fantasy books. And the only bits I scripted were how I wanted to describe like what happened in each of the books. And I have to say, like, I kind of hated the experience of that because I felt like I had to kind of stick to it in order to do each book justice, and it ended up with me doing like so much editing and like splicing together sentences that it just didn't come across quite as naturally as I wanted it to in the finished product. But I was brand new to Booktube at that point, and you gotta live and learn, right? So that is what I have found works the best for me. Prompt 2 is, do you edit before you post, deleting hems and haws, misspeaks, mispronunciations, and other common public speaking foibles? Do you remove things you didn't mean to say, or off-topic thoughts or comments you think might be misunderstood? And oh my gosh, guys, my videos are heavily edited. So quite often I have random interruptions with like dogs barking at things, and I often mess up what I'm saying and restart the sentence or restart part of the sentence. I also have a very squeaky, of course now it's not going to do it, squeaky bench that I sit on to film in front of the shelves. So I try and edit out some of the bench squeaks when possible, especially if they aren't while I'm talking, or if I have like another section of me saying the same thing, then I try and edit those out as much as possible. In terms of things I didn't mean to say, I guess it depends on how relevant I feel like it is to the content overall. Like I said, I don't script my videos, and oftentimes they are kind of off the cuff. So there may be things where like maybe in my head when I was kind of going over the video, I didn't necessarily plan to bring up a certain book, and I do while I'm filming, but typically as long as that's relevant to the video, that ends up staying. If it's just like I'm having a hard time with words and they're not coming out the way I want them to, then like, yeah, that will typically get removed unless it ends up being something funny. And when I'm filming with Jake, a lot of the times we'll have those kind of moments where it feels a little bit more natural to film with him because it's more of a conversational style, and it just is, I don't know, it's a different vibe. It's weird. Like, I'm used to FaceTime and I'm used to filming on his channel, but it's a whole different ballgame filming by yourself. And just the way that everything comes out when you're in more of a conversational style can tend to be a little bit more funny. So typically those kinds of bloopers or mistakes I'll end up leaving in those types of videos, but when I'm filming by myself, they tend to get cut. In terms of comments I think might be misunderstood, I tend to be an over-explainer. So I don't necessarily think that I tend to have a lot of those kind of moments that I notice while I'm editing. And because of that, I tend not to have those removed. And oftentimes if I do come across anything like that, I'll just add like a text bubble to the screen, kind of further explaining something or correcting myself if I've made an error. But yeah, typically those don't end up getting removed either. Prompt 3 is, have you ever edited a post after posting? Have you ever deleted an entire post? So I have never edited a post after posting. What I have done is add a pinned comment and edited a thumbnail. But I've never actually edited a video after it's gone up. I have had to delete one video once, but it was before it was public. So essentially I had a situation where I had a video all edited and uploaded, but something happened to the audio that once it was on YouTube, the audio was all kind of wonky in certain sections of the video. And so I deleted it and then re-uploaded it, and then it was fine. But yeah, because of that, I tend to quickly preview all of my videos on YouTube at 2x speed and just make sure that that hasn't happened. So, I mean, in a way, it was a good thing that it happened to me while my channel was so young, because it's not something I may have thought to do before. But knowing that that is a possibility that has happened to me before, it's something I'm definitely aware of. But yeah, I tend not to edit video stuff after I post. I will edit my comments sometimes, like if I read something back and realize that I made a typo, or if I didn't like stream a sentence together correctly, or I feel like I'm not quite conveying the point the way that I want to. Like I'll sometimes within a minute edit like a comment. But yeah, in terms of a video, no. Question 4 is, are there certain topics you avoid or things that you regard as too personal or too controversial? And for me, the answer is not really. There's nothing that I would consider like too personal or too confidential that specifically relates to books or my content that I would purposely have to avoid. The one topic I do make a point of avoiding is politics, and there are a couple reasons for that. And basically it stems from the fact that I'm a green card holder in the US, and so the main thing is I don't get a vote here. So in a way it feels kind of pointless for me to delve into politics, because it's gonna be what it's gonna be, and I just have to accept that no matter what happens, because I'm not a citizen, so I don't get a vote. And furthermore, obviously I travel across borders because I'm going to want to go back to my home country at some point. And there are definitely some scenarios of green card holders and even citizens being held up at customs because they're posting their political opinions or comments online these days. I think that's more in like extremist cases, but anything can happen for sure. Question 5 is, do your posts include graphics, special lighting, music, fast cuts, or other design enhancements? In terms of graphics, basically I just put book covers up for whatever book I'm talking about at the time, for the most part. There's definitely the odd video where I add something that I think will be funny, like a GIF overlaying the screen, or like a slow zoom in on a fun reaction, you know, those kinds of things. But for the most part, I don't tend to have a lot of specialized kind of stuff. In terms of lighting, I just use a basic ring light on a tripod. That's something that maybe, you know, years later, if I am still doing Booktube, I'll consider upgrading. I feel like if I'm going to consider an upgrade, the first thing will be getting a mic, because I just film on my phone and just use my basic phone camera and mic. And I don't tend to play around with fast cuts or other stuff. Maybe it's something I'll do down the road as I get more and more familiar with the editing process. But for now, pretty basic. Question 6 is, do you have a target number of posts each week? And for me, I tend to try and go on Jake's upload schedule, especially since now we tag everyone on the Discord when we upload. So it just makes sense for us to be on the same schedule, so you have less notifications clogging up your feed or to deal with. And it's just a quick, easy thing, because then one of us can post for both of us instead of us having to worry about like both posting individually. It just streamlines things for us. So yeah, I tend to attempt uploading 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the morning when Jake does on his schedule. Now, obviously things have happened where I have taken hiatuses and stuff from Booktube, but as long as I have nothing crazy going on outside of YouTube, then I tend to try and stick to that schedule. Question 7 is, are there certain themed posts you contribute to regularly, such as Poetry Thursday or What Are You Reading Wednesday? For me, no, not really. There's not really like a dedicated video series or like a themed upload schedule that I have. The one thing that you can pretty much count on is that I'll always try and have a TBR for the upcoming month and a wrap up for the previous month sometime in the first like week or two of a new month. But otherwise, it's kind of open and fair game to whatever. I do have ideas moving forward for some video series on my channel, and maybe at some point a dedicated day to upload a vlog. But for now, basically, I just haven't been utilizing my vlog ideas because I'm dedicated and committed to too many read-alongs and buddy reads, and I've just had a lot going on, so I've been behind on those. And I just feel like adding more books to my TBR for a vlog isn't necessarily feasible while I'm like already struggling to keep up. So maybe someday down the line, when I have less read-alongs I'm committed to, it's something I'll explore more. I definitely tend to still enjoy doing vlogs, and I am very good at kind of like spur of the moment thoughts in a book. I'm very in a book when I'm in it, and I'm very kind of like moved on to the next thing when I'm in the next thing. So it's an easy type of thing for me to film, like a quick clip while I'm deep in the trenches of my thoughts with a book. It works well for how I function, I guess. So that's something you can probably expect to see more of on my channel in the future. And I also do have an idea for a video series that may come at some point, but I'm not sure if that will end up like on a specific upload schedule or if it'll just be kind of like whenever I feel like doing an episode. It also may involve other booktubers with some episodes, so it may also kind of depend like what their schedule looks like and when that can happen. So yeah, we'll see how it all shakes out. But as of right now, there's really not like a themed upload or a themed post I contribute to regularly. Question 8 is, how important to you is your number of subscribers? Is there a target number you're hoping to reach? If you don't hit your target, would you consider dropping out of Booktube? Are your posts designed to attract new subscribers? And are you distressed if you lose subscribers? So there's a lot of kind of questions in that one to unpack. So I'll try and go like question by question in that one. So how important to me is the number of my subscribers? Ultimately, the actual number is not that important to me. The main thing that is that I am talking to somebody. Anyone who's creating content and is uploading it is doing it because they want someone to engage with that content. And so as long as I feel like I have an audience, however small, that is engaging with my content and is kind of contributing to the discussion that I'm having, like that's the ultimate for me. You know, whether it's like 20 people or 200 people, it doesn't matter. Is there a target number of subscribers I'm hoping to reach? No, not necessarily. I mean, maybe it would be nice to hit 300 by the end of the year, just because I feel like that will show kind of like some consistent upward trajectory progress, which is something that always feels good, right? Nobody wants to feel like they're stuck in a plateau or moving backwards. So I guess with that logic, I'll say 300. If I don't hit my target, will I consider dropping out of Booktube? Not for that reason, no. Honestly, I started my channel for me because I thought it was going to be something that I would enjoy doing. I wanted to have a creative outlet. I wanted to have more discussion with readers, especially hopefully find readers that have similar tastes to me that I could get more book recommendations from. And also just to talk to people about the books I was reading, because while Jake and I do both read and do have some overlap, there's definitely a lot of books that I read that he's not interested in. And so it's nice to have friends or people in the community that I can also chat to about those. The next segment of that was, are your posts designed to attract new subscribers? It's not something I really purposefully consider when I'm deciding what my next video will be. Most of the time, I'm kind of more of a mood creator. So like, I'll usually have a list of ideas for videos, and then I'll kind of go through my list and say, I'm in the mood for that one. Let's do that one. Or I feel like I have things to say about this right now. So most of the time, that's kind of how I am picking and choosing my content. Oftentimes, I will have kind of a brainstorm, sit down with Jake, be like, I need some video ideas. What you got? Because I'm not in the mood for anything on my list. And so we'll kind of do that. But a lot of the time, my content is just reflected by my mood and based on what I'm interested in talking about or filming at the moment. And then the last segment of that is, are you distressed if you lose subscribers? If it's just a handful of people like here or there, no, not specifically. I feel like that's kind of a natural Booktube progression thing. Like, the more you post, the more people kind of realize that they may share or not share your tastes. And I think it's normal for people to say, okay, I don't really, share their taste. Maybe I'll subscribe to somebody else. And that's totally fine. And there's definitely situations where like YouTube has unsubscribed me from people. So I'm assuming that happens to other people too. So like, no, it's not particularly distressing to me if I lose like a couple subscribers here or there. Ultimately, I want to find an audience that wants to be here, wants to view my content. And so if I'm losing a subscriber that isn't necessarily in that vein, like, that's fine. Now, I would be a little bit more distressed if I lost a significant chunk of subscribers overnight or something, but that's not a scenario I've encountered so far, so not really something I'm worried about. Question 9 is, do you always respond when tagged? I try to. I'm not always the best at seeing every single notification on YouTube because I have so many of them. I have notifications turned on for uploads a lot of the time. And so sometimes things kind of get lost in the sea of notifications. But I also try and check like my studio creator side community tab for mentions and comments I haven't responded to every once in a while. And so usually I'm able to go in and find things that I have maybe missed. And in terms of actual tag videos, I don't think there's a tag that I've been tagged in yet that I haven't done or don't have plans to do. I do kind of foresee that there may be videos I'm tagged in the future that I'm maybe not all that interested in doing, that I maybe will pass up. And I'm thinking more specifically things that kind of have questions that veer towards things that don't align with my reading tastes. So maybe questions that are kind of all about like, oh, what read makes you feel warm and fuzzy, or like cozy stuff. You know, that kind of stuff doesn't really align with my reading tastes a lot of the time, and I feel like I have kind of answered those types of questions already. And because it's not something I typically pick up, I'll just feel like I'm repeating myself over and over, and it's just like, okay, I want something new to talk about. So I can foresee a possibility where there may be a situation in the future where I don't end up having a desire to do a tag video I'm tagged in. But at this point, I try to respond to everything I'm tagged in. Question 10 is, do you respond to viewers' comments? And are your responses lengthy or only a thumbs up or thumbs down? I always try and respond to viewer comments, at least to heart it, to say like, I've read it, I see you, you know? And I don't put necessarily pressure on myself to do like full responses, but definitely most of the time comments naturally have my curiosity, or I'm naturally interested in what the person is saying. And so I'll tend to respond genuinely to that with sentences. But there are some things where like somebody just posts something funny or like highlights a moment that was funny in the video, where I'll just post like a thumbs up or a laugh or something. Question 11 is, have you ever blocked anyone from viewing or commenting on your posts? And no, I actually have been very lucky so far that I haven't really had posts on my channel that kind of would make me worry about that kind of thing. The only thing I've ever really had is kind of like the odd spam comment, or just like somebody kind of disagreeing with my take or not really appreciating my point of view on something. And so far, when that has happened, the person has been pretty respectful, so it's not a problem for me to just leave it, and I haven't had to block anyone or really worry about it. I'm sure that's something I'll encounter eventually, but so far I've been pretty lucky. And the last question is question 12, tag some Booktube friends. And I have 3 people that I want to tag to do this. I want to tag Trin over at Portable Magic, because she's been a booktuber for quite a while, and I feel like she'll have some really interesting, insightful answers to some of these, and I'm just curious about her answer on a lot of these too. And then I also want to go ahead and tag Kelly over at Coffee Cups and Books. She's more of a brand new channel, and I'm curious to see what her experience has been so far, and see if she has any interesting comments about like experimenting and trying to figure out what her process is. And then I also wanted to go ahead and tag Amanda over at Reading and Writing Life, because she does a lot of her filming through her computer screen or through screen recording, and that's not a typical format for a lot of booktubers, and so I think maybe she'll have some interesting things to add to this discussion as well. So that was it for all of the tag questions. Hopefully you guys found something interesting in here that you didn't know before. I'm most curious to hear from all of you, even if you're not a creator, what like regular themed uploads do you enjoy seeing from your favorite booktubers? So like, is there a certain video series that someone does that they post like once a week or once a month that you absolutely love watching? I'm definitely curious to hear all of those. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe on your way out if you want to, and have a great day. Bye.